the reason that I teach you guys about about certain pieces of knowledge is because you're the leadership class. I know that an average person, they'll never fully respect or understand my message because it's too high level. I speak to you as one who is not reporting what I've read in a book written by some nerd, but one who has lived it out and speaks to you from an infinite well of game. Not only from that which I've lived, but that which was passed on to me from super players since I was a young boy.
Ooh, a flashback.
And the beautiful thing about this game is that this ism I'm dropping on you is this applies to all lands, all peoples, the religious girl, the atheist girl, all of it. That's the beauty of it. So you will get your fill of self-improvement here if you would only pay attention. If one is qualified to be the king, then he can deal with all things involved in being a king's appetite, a king's burdens, and a king's privileges. And that's why I always remind you, gentlemen, you guys are leaders, and everything that is involved with you being a man, that is an appropriate weight for you. It's not too much weight. It's an appropriate weight, and you should enjoy lifting it. It's extraordinary how the truth matters not to the wicked. Example, my very first legal job, I worked at an after-school program, grooming and not grooming. I shouldn't use the word grooming nowadays. We're in such a sick world, but refining the minds of children, instructing them on health, being an emotional support to children. That's my first job, after-school program. And one of the things that's important that you'll notice about me versus anyone else on YouTube is everything that you see me display before this camera, you can track it through my entire life. Same guy. Yes. So first job, I worked at an after school program, taking care of kids, developing them. I completed high school at age 16, tested out, went to community college, did a 2-year bit in 1 year, came into the University of California as a third-year junior at age 18. I then founded a fraternity. You see, I'm creating a lot of things. Okay. I forgot to mention I created an organization before I left that after school program. I was also the youngest employee ever for the city of Pasadena, where I worked as an after school program Rec 3 leader. But anyways, I created a fraternity, which still stands to this day and is the largest fraternity on campus. Created a fraternity from scratch, non-drinking fraternity. You see, I didn't just start with this non-drinking thing my whole life. Create a non-drinking fraternity, which is now the biggest fraternity at Berkeley. I graduate, and then I go into, mind you, I graduate early, and I choose to go into Teach for America. Teaching who? Children. A teacher of children in a ghetto called Baltimore. Every day, and you can ask the kids about this, I arrived to work 2 hours early. I used to arrive to work and you can read about this in my book, The Black Box. I used to arrive to work so early that the security got mad at me because they had to show up on time to open up the school. That's how early I would arrive to work. I work my ass off, tutor every day after school for $0 for free. Then I would walk home through their neighborhoods where the kids live. And that's why they respect me at a different level. Did that for 2 years while pursuing a master's degree, and I founded a nonprofit. And every weekend I would tutor kids and teach them computer skills at a local church, where I created a program to feed the kids and make sure that they were savvy on those computers. Why? Because the schools didn't have computers. I got the computers put in there. Then I worked for a nonprofit in Baltimore, Maryland, doing wraparound services for impoverished Black families in Baltimore. Then I was recruited to work for an ed tech company, did well with them, millions of dollars of business development. I said, hey, I could do this for myself, created my own company. Eventually it was quite successful. And you track my whole way through. Oh yeah, when I was in university, I forgot to mention this, I took a bachelor's in political science, which lets you know I've always been very interested in politics and political movements, which is why when you hear me speak on geopolitics, it's just a higher level of understanding. And you see, when I build things, I'm building a political movement, the likes of which the world has never seen. And that's why you have those who are unintelligent and wicked. They say, oh, he's building a cult. No, goofball, it's a political movement. Yes, it's a political movement. It's not a religious movement, goofball. So when you track through my whole life, you'll see it's been extraordinarily consistent. When you hear me speak of my sadness for orphans, those who have been left without parents, left without caretakers and guardians, you read my book, The Black Box, I tell you not only my story, I tell you the stories of my kids that I raised up merely as a father while myself being a young person. So many stories of kids that were abused because I was a teacher. I taught 150 kids in Baltimore where 10% of the population was on heroin. Heroin, my boy. They banging needles. You know what kind of despair that is? So when you hear me speak about protecting the kids and create policy around that, culture around that, when you hear me say that no woman should mix paternal blood, is because I heard so many stories of mom got a stepdad in the mix and stepdad is touching the kids because they're not his kids. So I speak from lived experiences on things that have always been important and core to me. My first job, raising the kids up. My second job, raising the kids up. I founded a nonprofit, raising the kids up. My degree in political science. Then the first big internship I did, fellowship, was in politics. And that's when I figured out politics was wicked. When I worked for the mayor of Baltimore as a liaison between the mayor of Baltimore and the CEO of city schools. Well, I think it's like one of the top 10 largest school districts. Everything you find in my background. And then when you look at my philanthropic work, I don't want to name any of the organizations because I don't know if they want to be associated with my YouTube channel, but you can trace every single thing I've ever done. It has perfect alignment. Marquett is all about developing the youth. Marquett is all about using movements to alter and improve culture. My whole life. Never drink alcohol, never use drugs, my whole life, same guy. And unlike a lot of these YouTube nerds, while being that straight edge guy, I was also the top dog socially and romantically, super player my whole life. There has been no change. There's been no pretend. There's been no reinvention. That is why the only dirt they can throw on my name is falsehood. They can only cast falsehood and lies. Come on now. This is not to disrespect you or to hurt your feelings. It's just to encourage you to freaking think before you speak. Like, that's all I ask. Just think before you speak. And most of the time, if you're thinking of something negative, think about yourself first. You know, if you're about to condemn someone, condemn yourself in your head and then ask yourself, would you have wanted to hear that about yourself? Or is that true about you? Or if you're saying, oh, so-and-so hasn't helped anybody, just ask yourself, have I helped anybody? And then decide if you want to speak. And when my brain is working really well, I use that standard for myself. For example, a lot of the South Africans who can't handle the truth, they're like, well, Marquette, what did you do for South Africa? I'm like, oh, well, that's a good question. I've had in excess of 15 employees in South Africa. I've paid out over $250,000 in real wages in South Africa. I've given South Africans who were virtual strangers to me experiences in their own country that they never could have had, shown them around their own country in ways that never could have happened. So I've actually done a significant amount for South Africa. And frankly, I've done way more than 99.9% of South Africans have done for South Africa. Just talking about everyday people. We look at the population as a whole. I'd say 99.9%. I've done more than them. So I can speak on it, and I'm not speaking on it without having contributed. And so if I'm going to be critical of the efforts of people in South Africa to raise up South Africans, I would first be critical of myself, because I don't want to be a critic. I want to be a doer. As a man, we want to be action oriented. So, there you go. And here's the funny thing. Most of the people who get mad at my truth about South Africa, they've done nothing for South Africa. Or they'll say, oh, well, Marco, what have you done for black people? What do you mean, like in America? Okay, good question. Read my book. I detail it in my book, but in summary, I started a whole nonprofit for black families in Baltimore. I also used to volunteer every weekend and run a tech center at a church in Baltimore. Yeah, it's a true story. I'd volunteer my own time every weekend and teach job skills, like computer skills, for people in Baltimore, volunteer basis. I started my career as a teacher. Someone had said in one of the YouTube comments that I'm a teacher. I'm not currently a teacher. I've been taught in 10 years. It's the first thing I did when I got out of university, because I wanted to help people, particularly people who are struggling and do not know a better life. I wanted to give them the skills they could use to get a better life. Now I do this, I find that it's more scalable. I can talk to more people at once. And the reason that I do this is because when I go out in the world, I see so many people with tremendous potential, people who are remarkable and don't know it, people who are great
and are not acting like it. And so I get on here to remind you that you are extraordinary. You are remarkable. It's upon you to act like it every single day. Believe in yourself. So folks, just remember that if you didn't remember anything else. Walk out with your chest poked out, with your chin up. That's what I really want to inspire you. I talk about women a lot because you guys like to hear about women a lot. Truth be told, they couldn't be more unimportant in my life. But I talk about them because that's what brings you guys to the table. But what this whole thing called life is about you. When you get you together, everything else falls in place. The money comes, the women come, everything you want comes.
I also used to run a nonprofit at Johns Hopkins Medical, raised over $3 million specifically to benefit Black families. And I can go on and on and on. I did Teach for America in Baltimore when I could have went to a prestigious law school, and I can go on and on and on. So the fact is that have some merits and have some deeds. Most people just have words. They're here to make $1. I'm here to make a difference. But somehow I'm the guy they hate on. What kind of shit is this? I'm the American dream, motherfucker. Like, I'm the reason, like me, my life, I'm the reason motherfuckers are over there in Albania, motherfuckers in Somalia. Like, I want to get to America because of me, boy. Well, what do you mean, Marquett? When I was born, my father was in prison for selling crack cocaine, youngin'. When I was born, my mother was on crack cocaine. I'm an actual crack baby. I went to horrible public schools in Los Angeles. I grew up part-time with my grandmother who had dementia. If I can make it, you can make it. I am the American dream. I am the result of intelligence and hard work consistently applied. You hate on someone like me, you hate yourself. That's all there is. You hate yourself. I'm the American dream. So when you see somebody like me, you got to respect it, man. If you can't respect it, there's something wrong with you. And you gonna rock with him over the big homie? Bruh, it's crazy. Now, granted, it's a minority of people. But you still have to question the society we live in where we prize weakness and gossip among males instead of prizing men who are action-oriented, the doers in the society. Huh? The world's sick out here. We got a sick world out here. That's who I am. I've never been a person to bend. That's how I made it through an entire lifetime, never having one sip of alcohol. I was the president of a huge fraternity and never had a sip of alcohol. That's who I actually am. I stick to what I believe, but that's not who most people are. So if they fall down, I understand. That's typical of human beings. So a lot of males, especially, they feel inferiority. Women feel jealousy. Males will feel inferiority. But that's why I always encourage you guys to take Boss University. The reason I say take Boss University and you should take that course, especially made by me, is because you got to realize that I came from nothing. A lot of people like to lie and say that they came from nothing. Like there's a Gary Vaynerchuk, and bro is a clown. I saw bro at the Win. We're at the Win together, and bro is a super clown. But he claims that he came from nothing. Well, how'd you come from nothing when your parents are entrepreneurs and your dad gave you a business? Man, my dad barely gave me 10 minutes. Your dad gave you a business. You heard me? So how'd you come from nothing? How are you a business guru and a business genius? How can you teach grit and overcoming? You don't know shit, homie. Homie, you came from a silver spoon, my boy. When I tell you to take Boss University, I'm talking to you from someone who came out of the mud. Not only did I grow up in a ghetto, I was the poorest kid in the ghetto. Why? Because everybody else moms could maintain their Section 8. My moms couldn't even maintain Section 8. You heard me? Yeah, when you on crack and your mind ain't right and you chasing that high and you don't care about nothing and your pops is in the pen for selling dope, and your grandma has dementia, she ain't all there mentally, and none of your family is around because your uncles is all locked up too, and you got to go out and grind and make things happen. None of these boys came from the mud like I came from the mud. You ever talk to anybody that grew up with me? And mind you, you never seen anybody on a YouTube channel like Marquett's lying, Marquett's faking. You never saw that in your goddamn life. One, because most of the people I grew up with that I really mess with are actually dead. You know, like rappers say you're going to end up in jail or dead. Yeah, they're actually dead. Or they're in jail because they kill people like you. So I don't want to hear these people saying they came from nothing. You never seen nothing. You never done nothing. It's a different thing. When I tell you about Boss University, you're feeling feelings of inferiority. Bro, I grew up and I was inferior to the other kids in the ghetto because they might have a single mom. At least their mom was there. Mine was out on dope, like trying to chase a high, boy. I was by myself. So that's why I know how to get it on like nobody know how to get it on. Because I didn't have anybody in my corner. So when I teach you about how to be a boss, you learn from somebody who really knows how to get it in, who knows how to get it done by themselves. No help needed. So that's why when we talk about people like Gary Vaynerchuk, it's disgusting to me because it's like, Brody, if I dropped you out in this world and made you get it on with no help, no handouts, no advantages, you wouldn't survive. None of these balls will survive in my shoes, man. Knock it off. So when I teach you guys about Boss University, the first thing is to become a boss in here, become a boss of yourself. And when you're certain of who you are, you never feel inferior, ever. Like even when I'm around people who have significantly more money, I remember one of the first major investments I got from a guy who he founded. Listen, dude made 30 million when he was 24. I'm gonna just put it like that. He made 30 million when he was 24. I met him, he was in his late 30s. So we can imagine how his money added up by then. Did I feel inferior? No. Because where I started from, it's not about where you're at. It's about that distance. You hear me? We're all running a race, but I started so way far back. That distance I've ran is probably a greater distance than he's run. You see the distance when you grow up, and in his case, his parents were both educated professionals. We're talking doctors, things like this, lawyers, things like this. So when your mom's a doctor and your dad's a lawyer, and you have a multimillionaire family, and then you become like an 80 millionaire, that's a beautiful thing. I commend you. It's a beautiful thing. But the distance between coming from a multimillionaire family and amassing 80 million yourself, you did. That's impressive. That's very good. It's not an enormous distance though. But the distance of coming from what I came from and then getting to where I'm at now, bro, those are worlds away. Those are worlds away. Listen, those are worlds away. The distance I've come is like I've traveled through galaxies, Brody. I'm the only one that could really teach you how to get there. They don't know. They never been in a situation where the chips are down and you ain't got nobody to ask. They never been in a situation when you actually got to start from scratch, like start from nothing. They don't know nothing about that. Gary Vaynerchuk inherit a business talking about he knows how to tell you how to get out the mud. Boy, you don't know what the mud is. And if you in the mud, I guess I'm in the gutter. Huh? Like, man, they couldn't tell you how to do that. And that's why I start with mindset. Because listen, when you have nothing materially, the only thing you have is mindset. When you don't have any money or resources, the only thing you have is your mind. You have to create out of the mind. And shout out to Trump, man. He started with $1 million loan from his pops. Now he became a billionaire, which is very impressive, but he started with $1 million loan. Gary V started out with a business handed over. Now, who else you want to talk about? What other guru you want to pull out? They're all clowns. They all got fake stories, false narratives. Come on, man. Every last one of them. As soon as you start doing your research, you'll be able to find that one thing, that one very significant advantage where you're like, oh, that's how you won. That's how you won. Your uncle gave you your first real estate deal. Boom, that's how you won. Or you're like, oh, your mom introduced you to so-and-so because she was friends with them because they go to the same country club. Boom, that's how you won. With me, you're going to go through the whole story and be like, damn, this is some tragic shit. Like, I don't know how to forget making it. I don't know how the ball is sane. I don't know how his head is even screwed on right. All this stuff he done been through. But here's the thing. You guys go through, you're weak-minded. That's why I've Boss University, toughen you up. You go through and you call everything trauma. Bro, that's not trauma. That's life. Life involves challenges, pitfalls, setbacks, and it can also involve success if you would only stay focused and know that life is not all flowers, but you can make it pretty damn close to that. Guys call everything trauma now. People are super weak. They super weak, man. But anyways, I just say that because it's like all these internet gurus, man, they so phony out here. And listen to me, man. When I tell you how to get it in, I don't tell you from the perspective of a guy who like went viral on YouTube and then became a successful YouTuber and is making a bunch of money on YouTube. And that's how he got it. Because listen, that's a rare thing. You guys will not be able to duplicate that. It will become increasingly harder to do that. Every time I meet somebody, they're like, oh, you're a podcaster. I'm thinking about starting a podcast. Say I was a doctor and I meet people and I say, oh, I'm a physician. They're not going to say, oh, you're a physician. I was thinking about becoming a physician, right? Because that involves work. It's hard. But you say you're a podcaster. Everyone wants to try it. Everyone's going to give it a shot. Whether they got talent, a stutter, they're ugly, they're going to all give it a shot. So that lets you know it's one of the most competitive environments. You're not going to win at it. And people often want to point out Kevin Samuels. Brody didn't even become successful till he had gray hair. You hear me? Bro had a head of gray hair when he became successful. And that was on YouTube. And that was due to a fluke. You heard me? I'm not saying he wasn't intelligent. He's clearly very intelligent. Shout out to Kevin. He's very intelligent, has good information. But what I'm telling you is that his whole life he suffered and then he hit it big on YouTube. So unless you're going to become a YouTuber, he doesn't have much he can teach you in terms of becoming financially successful. And he is a representation of most of the persons you would follow on YouTube. All they know is success on YouTube. You guys are not going to be entertainers. Y'all got to get real businesses, real jobs, real product-based businesses. Because I tell you what, this phone case, like forget the iPhone, look at the phone case. I don't even remember who I bought it from, but I'm sure they sold a bunch of them and I'm sure they're a millionaire just off the selling cell phone cases. See, you don't have to be good looking, articulate, charming, and experienced to sell cell phone cases. And that's the opportunity that I give you guys. And Boston University is a psychological foundation so that you can believe in yourself, be able to self-manage so you can have the discipline to do the right things to add up some dollars. Come on, man. But we got a lot of goofballs out here, bro. Like I'm shocked that you guys follow the stuff you guys follow. It disgusts me. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I'm like, damn, should I even be YouTubing? I can't even believe they compare me to these rascals. Shout out to Carter, sends in via Venmo. I'm like, yo, how do they compare me to these rascals? Like, I'm clearly super player. How the hell y'all look at these dudes who are clearly nerds talking about how to get women? You're like, bro, like this nigga don't get women. Or he only get them because he got money. You hear me? Like, I wouldn't want to learn from a guy like that because most of you guys are not balling. So why are you going to learn how to get girls from a guy who only gets girls because he has money? What can you learn from him? You don't have money. So you can't use his method, and everything else he's talking, he's just making up or he's saying something he read or he's repeating down something I said, the watered down version. You heard me? It sounded a little sloppy, less player. Come on, man. Let's talk about that part. Ask any one of them, like, were you homecoming king? Were you like voted Mr. Heartthrob in high school? Were you like what is the evidence that you really do this before YouTube? What's the evidence that this is in your blood? None, because it's not. You heard me? Listen, if you're going to learn basketball, learn from Michael Jordan. Don't learn from the goddamn ball boy. Don't learn from the nigga that mop up after the NBA games. Come on, man. Authenticity is what I'm saying. For those of you who are curious, like, how did Marquett accumulate? What was Marquett's background? Like, is he really a big deal? Like, Marquett has a course on public speaking called the Master Communicator course. Is also on interpersonal relations, how to look at someone, size them up, how to project power, strength, and confidence, and many other things. Yeah, how did he create a master communicator course? Is he a master communicator? Yeah, well, I just posted a video on this channel. I highly recommend you check it out. It's a completely free video to everyone. You'll see me in China giving presentations for investors and also discussing my business ventures in that country and in various other countries and all of the deals that I've done. And you can tell in the way that I'm conducting myself, particularly the fact that I'm saying something important enough that someone's translating it real time. Either you can hear them translating or you can see a variety of people from different countries with headsets in, like we're in the United Nations, listening to their own individual language in real time. So that's why I create the Master Communicator course, because I am elite at this. I'm talking world-class political leader level. You did. Secondly, Marquett created a course called How to Create and Monetize Your Own Web Application or Mobile Application. Why did he do that? Because I'm a successful entrepreneur. That's why. And I created Boss University. It teaches you how to lift yourself up. It first starts with self-improvement. It teaches you how to be the boss of yourself such that you'd be worthy of, leading others. It teaches you how to master dealings in business and entrepreneurship, how to deal in your relationships with women. Why am I able to speak to that? Because those are the things that I excel in, and the evidence is there over a lifetime. You dig? Fortune favors the bold, which is a reminder to not be scared. Don't be fearful. And I would remind them of what you've heard me say many times, which is that you will be challenged. You will be challenged with ill health, loss of your loved ones, loss of your wealth. And this is a part of the human experience. Some of these experiences that I named may be arranged for you by the wicked among us, and you should not have any fear about that. And if you're spiritually sound, everything that is important is what's in here and what's in here. They can take all of your material away. They can hurt your friends. They can, penalize your family. They can incarcerate you, incarcerate them, but you must persist and you must be fearless. And though I, again, don't push religion, one of my favorite portions in the Bible, and I'll just put this into simple language because I think the Bible's confused enough people. Jesus told someone, he said, I want you to give away everything that you have and follow me. And I have nothing. So if you're rich, give it all away. Whatever is holding you down, whatever you're connected to, whatever you're holding on to, give it away. Foxes have holes, birds have nests. I don't even have those simple things that you could fashion from the earth. I have nothing. Follow me. And I think one of the most profound aspects of that is, number one, that he's saying, I am the value as a man. Like, I don't need money. I don't need a Bugatti. I don't need anything. I am the value. I am leader enough. Follow me. I don't have to have designer clothes. Follow me because I'm me, because I'm a leader, because I'm a real man. And then he said, give up what you have. And I think that it didn't really dawn, or I don't want to make any assumptions, but let me say most people who have things, when you have a lot of possessions, those possessions begin to possess you. This is something I've struggled with my entire life because I was born very poor, and I always knew that I could accumulate a lot because I have good work ethic and good intelligence. And so I knew I could accumulate, and there was always a balance between rapid accumulation, almost to make up for the things I didn't have but felt I deserved, but then the feeling of being a minimalist at heart, and knowing that the more you acquire and accumulate, the more things you own, the more things own you. You see, and it just eats up at your time owning all of these things. And your time is very valuable, and you do need to really focus on your happiness, and there are things that you need to achieve for yourself and for others as a man. And the more things you own, it just creates a slowness in your life. It slows you down. It's like a mud. Like, for example, I have an audio board here, the expensive thing I bought to like plug in all these mics. And then a new one came out. So like, do I need to upgrade? And, I had a leak in my tire, and then I took it in and they said, oh, your tire's fine. You cracked your rim a bit, and that's causing the issue. And there's always something to replace, something to fix, something to upgrade. And it's not even a money thing. It's just a time thing. And it's a mind thing. Your mind doesn't get to rest because there's so many moving pieces. Modern life has become so sophisticated when really the point of technology is actually, believe it or not, to make things simpler. But often that's not the case. You have an Apple Watch. So if your phone gives you a text message and you don't answer the text message, then your watch gives you a text message. And then, it's like it's an inescapable set of random annoyances that steal your focus from the presence. It steals your joy. It keeps you on edge and anxious, and you don't even know it. And you think it's doing you a favor. And the apps want more and more from you. They're like a nagging child. Yes, the app wants to know your real-time location. The app wants to know what you're doing in other apps. It wants you to share data. The app wants you to send feedback back to the app creator. And all of these things we think of as natural and normal. And then our political class will accuse China of monitoring everyone, as though we don't have these monitoring devices right here in our pockets. The government's monitoring all of us right here, right now. Here's us speak, watch. Hey, Siri. See, you're being listened to constantly, and you're also probably being watched as well. So those are the things that you need to manage, and we need a new spirituality, something that can return us back to the earth, because this technology and these satellites and all of these things, it's kind of taking us away from that which is simplest, that which is easiest. You see, even it destroys our relationships. There's one young lady whom I love and respect very much, but she sends me these long text messages, and I just don't have it in me to reply. I don't feel like doing this, because I do this all day in business. I have a bunch of business emails too. So I just tell her, like, just come be with me, but don't send me long messages. I don't have the interest to reply, not because it's you, just because it's technology. You're not here. Just come be here. That's natural. Like, make eye contact with me. Let me touch you. You touch me. This is how human beings relate. Our women are so fried. They think that if they can't get a hold of you, you must be up to something. If they can't get a hold of you, they're worried. They're not really worried. They're just psychotic, and they don't know it. You see, what they should think if they can't get a hold of you on the phone is, wow, he's at peace. Maybe he's meditating. Maybe he's praying. Maybe he's sleeping. Maybe he's just relaxing. But no, they think if they cannot act as God, which is all-seeing eye, all-knowing, and this is what we use these devices for, to become God, right? It's very godly to be in Kazakhstan and to be able to have a phone conversation with someone in New York. That's very godly, really, it is. And probably maybe we shouldn't be doing that except for emergencies or for transactional reasons or business reasons. We shouldn't be trying to sustain friendships over 5,000 kilometers away. And you might say, well, Marquett, it's the modern economy. People, they move away. Well, you shouldn't actually. You should live among your friends and family. You shouldn't. There's no need for a long distance relationship of any kind. You should live among your friends and family. Your mother should be your babysitter. Your brother should be your ride to the airport. Your sister should, cook for you when you're sick. Your children should, you don't need any of these things, really. We have technology, and we're using it not to improve our lives, but to worsen our lives and to replace the people in our lives. Yes, we're using technology to replace the people. It's not right.
Now, you might say, Marquett, this is appalling. It is appalling, darling.
Like, to me, this kind of a lecture is one of the most important lectures, and I'm the only one who can give it. You see, like, no one else can give this lecture. No one else. In all of you watching who really follow me, you really follow me. You really embrace this ism. You live by it. You are the greatest of men, and any woman under you, any child under you, they are honored to be under you, because they know if anything threatens them or threatens you, threatens the family, you will do what it takes. And because you are a hard man, very few things will threaten you. Very few things. They're honored to be under a strong leader. When I first came into the YouTube space, I was one of the few people who used my true name, Marquett Devon Burton. For there is no dirt on that name. That name is pristine the world over. Didn't come in with fake aliases. Came in under my true name, which I've built up over time, living in the same respectable way. We have many disbelievers who say, oh, no, he can't be what he says he is. There's no way he exercises every day. There's no way he's never had a sip of alcohol. There's no way he's never engaged in drugs. There's no way he's never used caffeine. There's no way he is what he says he is. And you see the demons and devils among us. No, the devil is not down below holding a pitchfork. There are devils among you and I. They're mostly broken, ugly. And when these devils encounter goodness, oh, they attack it. They hate it. String you up. It's how Jesus ended up on a cross now, isn't it? You even hear people say bad things about Mr. Rogers, and he's not cocky and arrogant. Hmm? Yes. The wicked will always have something to say. Very sad times. The Muslims are not Muslims. The Christians are not Christians. And I even suggest that if Jesus were to return today, he'd probably end up strung up on the cross again. And the people who would do it would probably be the Christians of all people. Wouldn't even be surprised if Jesus already came back and he was already done dirty and maybe said, I don't want to come back again. Maybe Jesus was Mr. Rogers. Maybe Jesus has come in pieces in different people. One thing is certain is that that book that he left is not impacting people enough in the right way. They're very sad times today, but also extraordinarily hopeful times. I think that our movement is what gives me the greatest amount of optimism of anything I see going on the planet Earth. I see a diverse movement that has genetic stock from every group on Earth. We have Muslims, Jews in Israel, Jews in America. We have Muslims from around the world. We have atheists. We have blacks, whites, Asians, Albanians, Georgians, Africans, Latinos, everyone. And that's what will give you a sense of what you're doing is pure. In fact, there are many people who reach out to me and say that they love my work and their English is not so good. So you know the ism is pure when it's getting through and the person is not so keen on English. But the fact of the matter is that we have a great amount of work to do. I sometimes question if I should consider using new strategies. Obviously, we've used new strategies to rapidly get to 100,000. But I know that the message we have to share is absolutely important, and it's important to disseminate it quickly because we need a new cultural standard. Your Quran, your Bible, your Torah, whatever you're reading, it does not tell you to limit your kids' time on the iPad. That book does not give you very clear explanation of the fact that the concept of a babysitter should not exist. You cannot trust your kids with strangers. It's not right. These books do not address the way technology has outstripped man's ability to be moral. So we need a new doctrine that addresses technology and provides a morality for how to interact with technology. Before, it was about how does a woman dress when she's out in the public. Now it's about how does a woman dress in the public, and also how does she show herself online? What are her digital clothes looking like? So the importance of what we have to share, it must be spread faster than artificial intelligence is spread because it's a dangerous thing. We must take over the halls of power because I can tell you that artificial intelligence and all of the false images and cloning of people's voices and likeness is extraordinarily dangerous. And I want to remind all of you, if you're with me, really be with me, because here's why. You could just as easily see a video with my face and my voice, and it's not me speaking. That is why I want you to remember that I've never changed. You've seen many of your favorite YouTubers exposed. You've seen a lot of Hollywood elite exposed. I can never be exposed. The things I've said of myself are 100% true. Many of you have been among me. You've traveled with me. You visited me. You've been to my conferences. We have folks who are here on my property right now who have came through the ranks. They consume the content. They've offered a value add. And if you talk to anyone who's been around me, whether it was a fan, a family member of mine, a longtime friend, a colleague from anywhere in the world, they'll tell you the same thing. I've never seen the man drink a sip of alcohol. I've never seen him use a drug. I don't even think he likes to be around it. I've seen him be upright in all of his business dealings. I've never seen him turn down a fade or show fear ever. That's who I will always be. I've never seen him engage with deviance. He does not condone sexual deviance. He is very much so for the protection of children, particularly orphans. And he's put his money where his mouth is, particularly with regards to the protection of orphans. So I want to remind you guys of that. That's who I have been. That's who I always will be. That'll never change. I say that because there are those individuals who, because they are limited in their knowledge, limited in their vocabulary, they try to put a name and say, oh, the man's running a cult. And I like that word in as much as the first couple letters, C-U-L-T, cult. Culture is my focus. To amend culture. C-U-L-T-U-R-E. Culture is the big focus. Culture is the way we communicate with one another. Culture defines who we are willing to live among and how we live together in peace and cleanliness, and how we spend our money and collaborate on business and grow up our wealth together. Culture is how we rear our children and make sure that they are protected. For example, one thing that needs to be highly regulated, though I do believe in freedom, generally speaking, the access to adult content among children is extraordinary. The idea that parents foolishly think the kids need a cell phone, they need to be connected, and then you have goofy moms claiming that it's safe. It's not safe for the kid not to have a cell phone. Love, we've been getting on for a century without a cell phone. The kids don't need a cell phone, and certainly they don't need a cell phone that can access a world of terrible, terrible, disturbing, traumatic content. You see, I'm so disturbed. People will reach out to me all the time, whether it's for a quick bit of advice, members, or it's a consultation, and I hear people have been addicted to adult content since they were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's disturbing. I wasn't even aware that such content existed at those ages. And surely when I became aware that such content existed, it was hard enough to access that I never even saw it until I was in my mid-teens. And for that reason, I grew up naturally and normally in a healthy way, mentally healthy. We must control our kids' access to things like this, lest they grow up in very broken ways. Your government's not doing it, parents are not doing it, and there's no standard. That is the work that we're doing. We are establishing the standard, as with cleanliness as well. When the ism really spreads throughout the earth, you will feel perfectly fine wearing a t-shirt and jeans as long as you are neat. Being neat will be a premium. Your intellect and your personality will be everything. I'm so happy to say that I'm happy, and I hope that you guys are all happy and pleased with yourselves. And if you're not, change your mindset. Be happy with yourself. Life is about happiness, not money. The choices you make every day will impact your eternity, your time on earth for sure. If you're a religious person, your time in the hereafter. Don't compromise your principles for money. Don't compromise your goodness to hang out with certain people. It's not worth it. So try to live a life of integrity, and be cautious. There are many snakes slithering around on their belly, and they mean no good for you. Time is precious. We're in a race. We have to move quickly. You do not want to persist in the same thing too long. If you ask me, Marquett, with what you know now, and you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self when you were 25? I'll say, Marquett, you are building a tech company. Fantastic. You put in a lot of work. I want to make a prophecy. This is going to work. This is going to make you millions of dollars. This is going to make you successful and well known. It's going to let you travel around the world. It's going to let you live in different countries. And despite that, I want you to quit right now immediately. I want you to quit right now immediately. And the reason I want you to quit right now immediately, because it's not worth the effort. It's too much work. There are simpler technologies that can make you money faster. And I want you to quit this today like it's a burning building. Leave it and try a different technology. That's what I would say.
because it hurts too much to do what you're doing. It's too much effort. It's too heavy of a lift, and you're strong enough to lift it. But why put the muscle in? Why put the muscle when you could use a little bit of hustle and get a better outcome, huh? Yes, indeed. That's what I would say.
I talk to you because I have something to teach. Many come here to teach, but how many of them are actually teachers? My actual training, I was professionally trained as a teacher. And I've taught at the elementary level, the middle school level, the high school level, and the university level, and the graduate school level in a paid capacity. It's different. Come on now. They're here to make $1. I'm here to make a difference. Understand. And not all of you will. I speak to the leadership class. I don't speak to the dimwits. They'll never get it.
We cherish family within the SAS, and family is critically important, and you should be seeking to build a large, strong, prosperous family. And as a great man, the wisest thing that you can do is to bring together as many excellent women and spread your seed and have a strong family in which those women are dedicated to you. So your real goal is to have women who are a part of your family, not random encounters. And you've never heard me say, I heard some of these persons in what they call the red pill space, and this is not red pill, this is hashtag no pill, this is the ism, you dig? We hear them say things like, you should sleep with this number of women, you should do that and do that. I think it's all nonsense. And therein lies the complaints. It often goes back to a Freudian understanding that sex is a major driving force, and those who cannot get sex in the marketplace, they have to try to marginalize others to reduce competition, you see. And this is precisely why the weak and the ignorant males are like, polygyny is not allowed in the Bible. Well, they hate polygyny. Why? Because they know that the strong, good-looking, tall, charismatic, attractive men are going to get 2, 3, 4 women, and that's going to leave them with 0 women, because women are herd animals, and they're going to herd and use that hive mind to circle around the guys that are most impactful in their environment. That just is what it is. Come on now. And that is why I always encourage you guys, if you haven't taken Boss University, take it, become strong here, become invincible here. This is where the whole world, it's here. This is where we're dealing here. You're not a caveman. You're not walking out and throwing hands. For most of your battles are mental and spiritual. Don't be defeated here.
You find yourself with a woman who's displaying consistent red flags, yet you stay engaged in that situation. You know it's bad for you. You're hurting yourself. Do not hurt yourself. I promise you, in this dangerous world, there are enough things that are out there to get you. You don't need to hurt yourself. There are other things. There's earthquakes for that. There's hurricanes for that. There's financial collapses for that. You don't need to hurt yourself. You need to love yourself, protect yourself, be among people who love and protect you, be among good people.
And may you be fortunate enough to find a woman who is sensible enough, feminine enough, real enough to live in the ways that are natural for human beings. And that's what I tell both men and women when they say things like, oh, well, who do you think you are to have 2 wives? I'm a great man.
Right.
I'm a great man. I'm a disciplined man.
Them. They're with me. That's why I have 2 wives. I wouldn't have it without them. So people always do that. You're right. Try to pick you apart. Try to act like they don't know any better. That's why they're with you.
That's crazy.
If that's the case, you still have 2 wives. So people often say they deserve better than you.
Wow.
I say they certainly do. And I'm going to take care of them until they realize it.
Yeah. Hey,
you see what I'm saying? So,
yeah. There was a Western reporter. I think he was in rural Iran, clearly somewhere in the Middle East. And he meets a guy and he says, oh, so you have 10 wives, or is it 17? How many wives do you have? And the guy's like, oh, I got 18. And he's like, oh my word.
You're a madman. How could you say such a thing?
And then the guy said, well, Arab guy said, well, how many wives do you have? And he's like, 1. And the guy just started busting up laughing. Well, it's extraordinary, darling. It's extraordinary. I've never seen such a thing. It's extraordinary. Arab guys are buzzing up laughing. He tells him, he's like, hey, bro, this nigga got 1 wife. Right? See? Yes. They must be very weak indeed to succumb to women. That's probably why their societies are failing. I was like, I love it, man. I love it.
It just shows how from one scenario, it's unheard of to not have multiple wives.
You're a
And
loser.
over here,
Yeah.
it's unheard of to have multiple wives, so you have an issue with it. You see what I'm saying? Different cultures, different places, man.
That's right.
And it's sad because people try to control the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they say, well, you don't live in America, so what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll say, well, you can't legally get married, so then you're not married. And I tell them they sound like a slave again.
Yes, they do.
Because they're trying to act like the government, a courthouse is who can solidify your relationship with someone. Had I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have gotten that marriage, man.
Right.
That's not marriage.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
control.
So the world is so far from being conscious to actually have understanding that we're years ahead of them. And so people like ourselves, we're going to be tore down, man. We were just ahead of our time.
That's
right. You know
right.
what I mean? So I feel sorry for them. Honestly, I look at a lot of them and I pity them. I literally have pity for them. It's like I'm looking at mental slaves. They can't see the bars because they're inside their head. And I tell them this all the time, but they can't grasp it. They literally cannot grasp it.
What's one challenge you've experienced?
Well, family, man. Just like walking away from religion, having two wives, people have their misconceptions about that as well. And so, I've seen it where people don't want me to come over their house for a holiday. I got two wives and different things like that. Yeah. So they think if I come around, their wives think if I come around,
talk about it.
To be poly too.
Talk about it.
I'm a bad influence.
Talk about it.
Right. It's amazing.
Now that I want you guys to pay attention to that part. And that's why I said what you're doing is a political statement. It's revolutionary. They damn near said, bro, you Nat Turner, you about to free the slaves. Keep this nigga from around us.
Right.
You about to free the slaves.
I don't want you getting no ideas. He can't come over here.
And you know what? That's what get me mad. It's like, baby, don't tell me I'm a king if you ain't going to act like it.
Right.
Don't limit the king.
Absolutely.
Don't limit the king. Yeah, these broads out here lying. They giving these balls half of what they deserve. And then when you show up and you got the whole thing, these balls start like,
they don't want them to even see that. I don't want you to give me ideas. I want you to have an idea of this. Yeah. Because they rather you think no woman would do this. And I was getting that when I was vetting. The women who were not down for poly, they'd say, ain't nobody gonna do this. I knew all I need is two. So I would ask them, all I need is two to agree.
Go ahead.
But they in their mind, nobody will ever go for it. You're crazy. You know what I mean? So, but the ones who did, I mean, hey, it is what it is. You see what I'm saying? So
Wishing you much success, the greatest of success.
Everything's going to work out. Don't stress. Don't feel like you're struggling. And number two, to enjoy the whole way through. Every moment, enjoy it in the present and live it like it's the last one.
And I just want to encourage you guys to seek greater meaning. There's so many of these clowns on the internet that are talking about, I want to be a millionaire. I'll teach you how to be a millionaire. Or I'm going to be a billionaire. It's like, getting money is fantastic. I highly recommend it, but that's not the measure of a man or of anything. So if you, and I hope everyone's listening closely, it has been said many times that life is short. You really can't say until you get to the end of it. You can say that in retrospect. While you're in the midst of it, you perhaps don't have any sense of how short or long life is. And we all have moments that feel like they're gone forever. We have other moments that are fleeting. The truth is that whether life is short or long, life is valuable, and what comes after it, we know not. And as a result, we should really try to make the most of what we have here and pursue true joy, not pretend happiness, not things that make us laugh today and happy today, but hurt us tomorrow, but true, enduring, sustained joy. That's something I talk about in Boss University. And if you find that you have the woman that you don't want, you're driving the car you don't want to be driving, you're living with your mother, you'd rather live on your own, whatever the case is, your bad circumstances, you should treat like a burning building and get out as quickly as possible. If you were in a burning building, you'd waste no time. And I can promise you that it's much better to be young and wealthy. It's much better to be happy and have a smile that's wrinkle-free. And I encourage you to get after all of those things right now, immediately. And the beautiful thing is, even if you're 80 years old today, as you watch this, you'll never be younger than you are today. Today is the youngest you will be. You'll only be a step older tomorrow. And so I say, make sure that your best days are ahead of you and get moving quickly. And that's one of the beautiful things about Hustlemania right now, is that I hope you all are inspired to go harder with greater focus on
the important things in life, the things that are important to you. So yes, that's my advice: to get moving quickly, go extremely hard, and don't accept what you don't want. Sometimes we make compromises. It's not necessary. You can have the big house if that's what you really want. You can have the car collection if that's what you truly desire. But remember, as you pursue your goals or material, that if you own too many things, then things will start to own you. Remember, the greatest joys are generally from having good people around. For example, my old lady was here recently and she was asking me what decorations I wanted her to fetch for Saints Weekend. And I said, really, we don't need any decorations. We are going to put up a Christmas tree. Who knows if we'll even decorate it? But the most important thing is that I'm bringing good people together, and I don't want to get hung up on decorations. That's why the world is lost, because they're focused on the wrong things. Here's another thing. And the reason I mentioned we're all human beings, your daughter, sister, mother, grandmother are just women. You may have noticed this with your own mother. Say in your household, she's kind and considerate, loving, you're important, you're a priority. Maybe you're not the favorite sibling. Your brother or sister comes around and all of a sudden they're the favorite child. They're getting the priority. You're forgotten. Hey, fend for yourself. Or it's when their parents come in. So it's when your parents' parents show up, all of a sudden, like you drop down 5 levels, which is fine. But you have to notice how other people view you, and you need to take that into account in the relationship. Now, don't be a narcissist and think that you're always the most important thing. You're the center of attention, but you have to take that into account. And if no one else in the world, your spouse should view you as the most important person, even if you're not. That's a part of love, is the unrealistic idealizing of the other person. Because if there's no level of the woman idealizing you, then she would constantly just upgrade guys when she has a chance. There would be no such thing as loyalty if there was not the irrational nature of love with the human female. So anyways, you might experience when you're with your own mother, her parents come around or her siblings come around, and all of a sudden she's started seeking their approval, trying to impress them, even if they don't like her or love her, which I've seen this happen. And now all of a sudden she's trying to impress them, and you don't matter. You're a piece of garbage now. And here's the funny thing, her parents or her siblings might view her as a piece of garbage and treat her that way. And she's still seeking their approval and seeking their love and seeking their attention, which means that at the same time, your love, attention, and all that has been devalued greatly. And then the way she treats you as a result has also devalued. Now, here's the funny thing. In her mind, she might not even be realizing these things. And I say that so that you could look at your mother, your own daughter, sister, grandmother as an example to know, am I experiencing this kind of person in my romantic life? Is that what I want? I would think probably not. There are some women, and I remember growing up and observing the differences over a long period. I remember there was one young lady that I was dealing with as a youngster, very affectionate, always have a hand on you when you're in private. And even if you were to go out in the public and there's no one around that she knows, very affectionate, put her arm around you, grab your arm, put it around her, very affectionate. Then as soon as you come to her family home, now we're both adults, you come to her family home, all of a sudden, oh yes, that's very interesting. Just like her whole personality changed. You're like, well, who is she really? Who is she really? How's she really feel? Which is the act? Is the act when you're in front of your family, or is the act when you're with me? That's an important question. Then there's another woman, same thing, very affectionate, very touchy-feely. When you're with her at home, when you're out in the public, then when you come with her family, you're in front of her family, same thing, very touchy-feely, very affectionate, very loving. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know there were women that just keep it consistent in all environments. Well, what is that? That's called being real, number one. Number two, that's her having been raised in that, and that's her family also having the openness of like, yes, like we want you to be dating someone you care about. We want to bring someone into our family. We want to get to know this guy. We want to like him. our instinct as a family is to like the person you're dating. There are families out there where their instinct is, when the guy's coming in, this is generally, of course, lower class, right? When the guy's coming in, their instinct is like, let's find, like, what's wrong with him? We got to vet him. It's negativity based. They're looking for deficits, which makes sense. Poor people live at a deficit. Whereas there are other families when they're like, oh, you met someone you care about. We want to care about them too. And that's really what you're seeking. It's more likely that the monogamous male is going to be the simp than the polygynous male. The polygynous male is doing something that most men would only dream of doing. That is why a PIMP is so admired and discussed and studied and, puzzled at, because they do something that most men can't do, which is to have multiple women who accept one another and would even feel like he's such a prize that they have to honor him with gifts in the same way that kings are honored with gifts. And that's precisely why I got a 3-sentence Bible, and we have people who are on this earth giving an example today of how to live in an upright way. The Bible is a beautiful work. The Torah is a beautiful work. The Quran is a beautiful work, but it's a shame the way the Christians, Muslims, and Jews behave on a daily basis. And I think rather than trying to proselytize or share their word, it's like, damn, can you give us a good example? And here's the thing that really trips me out on you and the women arguing against polygyny. You argue against polygyny, but don't seem to argue against all these damn divorces. Don't seem to argue against all these single mothers. Don't argue against all these bastard children. Don't argue against all these unruly women. Don't argue against all this premarital sex and kids out of wedlock. But you argue against the idea of a man being responsible and saying to this woman, you're mine. Those kids you have are mine. I'm going to take care of you till the day I die. You argue against that. I find that today we have synagogues of Satan. We have churches with LGBTQ flags. We have mosques where they engage in filth and homosexuality. This is disgusting. You guys are focused on tearing down the things that are actually good, which lets me know we've come to a time where left is right and up is down. You observe huge divorce rates among the monogamous. You observe huge levels of sexual liberation. It's extraordinary that the males in monogamous situations don't realize that you're basically yielding to a female. You're under female leadership and control. There's no man on earth who's strong and who can have the women that he wants, who says, I'm going to just leave it on the table. Nobody leaves money on the table.
But the thing that is strange is that what women are passing up on a consistent basis is the right guy. Your ability to select mates is horrible. What you would rather is a beta male, a weak male who says, yeah, I love you and only you and you're everything. And he lies to you, and then behind your back, he's a closeted homosexual. He lies to you, and then behind your back, he's unfaithful. He lies to you, and then behind your back, does all variety of amoral things. But then you meet the guy who's an alpha male, a real man, and because he's real, he doesn't have to hide or lie to you. He says, hey, you're fantastic. I think you're worth being with for a lifetime. I'm a man who can get anything he wants. I will have a few other women that I deal with, but I will always come home to you. You will always be a priority and you will be prized. That's called honesty. So what you do is you can't handle the truth. So you skip over the honest man, the strong man. You might sleep with him periodically. You essentially become a side girl who gets no real care over the long term. You might sleep with him a couple times because he's strong, handsome, good looking, and affluent. But then you stick with the weak male who lied to you to get you and lies to you continuously to keep you. And then when you find out that the weak male is a homosexual or is also cheating, then you fall apart and then you divorce and then you break a family and make the kid a bastard.
Why would I want to have to worry that my husband might have had sex with someone with STDs?
That's not what you're actually worrying about. If we're being honest, what women are worrying about is not STDs. What you're really worrying about is your psychological and emotional inability to handle the fact that he engaged in a physical experience with another woman. You're not really worried about the STDs. And here's the truth of the matter. The difference between the guy who tells you he's going to have women on the side and the guy who lies and says he's not, here's the difference. If you find a guy that you find to be appealing, like, yo, man, this guy is charming, he's funny, he's easy to get along with, he's tall, he's strong, he's well off. If you find him to be that guy, I promise you a bunch of other women find him to be very impressive as well. Okay, right. So there's that. Given that, you'll never find a man who is in a strong position where he can eat as much as he wants and he's going to walk into a buffet and say, no, I already, I don't want any food. No, of course, he's going to dine. So the issue is this, even though you have a filet mignon is my favorite. In fact, I just had some last night. Filet mignon is my favorite. But am I going to eat filet mignon happily every single day with nothing else, with no accompaniments? No. Yo, give me the lobster mac and cheese on the side. You dig? So the fact of the matter is I'm always going to come back to filet mignon. It is my favorite. But I will periodically need some lobster mac and cheese to go with it. You heard me? Like, you know, throw some mushrooms on there. You know, give me some chimichurri sauce. You heard me? I can't just not every single day. So here's the difference. You find that guy who is appealing to you. He's also going to be appealing to other women, and no man is going to resist what he's wired for, which is women. So you deal with the same guy who's appealing. The only difference is the guy who's weak lies to you, and the guy who's strong tells you the truth. So in both cases, they have other women. The only difference is the one who told you the truth is probably going to be more responsible with the other women. Why? Because that's his nature. He's honest. He told you the truth because he's responsible. So when he deals with other women, he's going to deal with them responsibly. The guy who told you he's not going to do it is a liar, which means he's irresponsible. So when he deals with other women, he's going to do it irresponsibly. Pop up with kids, pop up with STDs, pop up with drama. And you being a delusional woman, you're going to pick the weak guy who's more effeminate because you can identify with that. You want a guy who's more like you than like a man. That's how you end up with a gay guy, just in all respect and love. You end up with a gay guy who likes dudes and you like dudes too. He's feminine. You ended up with him because you were seeking yourself in a man. You see, it is the woman's nature. Do you ever want to be with multiple guys?
No.
I mean, if you do, let it be known. You don't have to lie. Do you ever want to be with multiple guys?
I truly don't.
You truly don't. That's very common. That's the woman's nature. So you project that onto a man. Oh, you should only want me because I only want you. That's not a man's nature. A man's nature may be to only love you, but that doesn't mean he might only want to lay with you. So you're projecting your feminine nature onto a man. And for the man to get you because he might find you attractive, he pretends and masquerades under that feminine nature. But a real man doesn't have to bend over for you. You heard me?
I agree.
The fake one bends over for you, and then you find out that he's taking it up the backside.
Oh, no. That's crazy. Wow. Bruh.
So, number one, what I teach all of you gentlemen, the leadership class of men, is that you should do your 3-a-days, which is to say, approach 3 women a day, stay sharp. And ideally, you'd approach 3 wealthy women per day, right? 3 wealthy, good-looking women, top tier. Sometimes that's not the option. So make sure you're getting your 3-a-day in for practice, for sharpness, and all things that you practice, you have an opportunity to become great at. The beautiful thing about approaching women and using the appropriate mindset, aggressiveness, decisiveness, strategy, it really keeps you sharp for a lot of the other things that you're going to do in life, your business pursuits and much else. So I highly recommend it. Stay sharp, keep options open, have real abundance, not say you have abundance, not do affirmations about abundance, but actually have it.
Sometimes you go brain dead watching life, forgetting to live life. What I mean is that you should be asking yourself, am I watching life right now, or am I living life? And every time you should be trying to live life.
And my wish is for all of you to live prosperous, happy, meaningful lives.
Those who are wise will always be able to see what I'm doing, because if you can't watch 4 of my videos and not see what I'm about. You can't watch 4 of my videos and not see that there's something deeper here. And more importantly, you can't be among the saints and not see that we have something strong and powerful, and it only gets stronger. Saints, it has been truly a pleasure to be here fellowshipping with you. I tell you, I could have done a lot of things tonight, and I'm so happy that I did this and had this time to spend with you. It's been an honor.
I thank you to all of you who share the ism with people, because it is truly life-changing. A woman reached out recently, a gentleman that shared the ism with her, and I think that it's always a blessing to people. So let us spread this way because we are facing huge levels of evil dominating around the earth. Ladies and saints, let us end this with our tradition, the creed of the assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you. The creed of the assassin. I am going to be who I truly am,
Because I am remarkable.
and I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part
to show the greatest part of who I am. Until next time.